Coming up on today's Wild West, the South Dakota Buffalo Roundup, galloping horseback alongside 1,500 stampeding buffalo in beautiful Custer State Park. We'll take you behind the scenes, explain the history, and put you in the middle of the action. Plus,
the government wanted to terminate the tribes.
The mountaintop monument to the greatest warrior of the Lakota, the Crazy Horse Memorial. And all aboard and backstage in the historic 1880 train. It's all next on today's Wild West.
The Wild West. It's still out there. And we'll show you how to find it. This is today's Wild West.
Galloping alongside a thundering herd of 1,500 buffalo in the American West. There is nothing like it. Participating in the South Dakota Buffalo Roundup is an incredible, unforgettable experience. And not just for the riders. More than 20,000 people come from around the country and all over the world to pack the hillsides of Custer State Park to take in this amazing spectacle in the beautiful Black Hills. A taste of the Old West you won't find anywhere else.
You know, it's unique in all the world. I don't think there's any other destination on the globe that can claim a buffalo roundup. It's that slice of the Old West that just doesn't exist really anywhere else.
Oh, hell, how do you beat it? It's just good excitement and good fun.
89-year-old Bob Lantis is horseback for his 53rd roundup.
My sister Laura and I jumped on 43 years ago.
Daughter Molly grew up chasing buffalo.
35. Because we've been married
35
34.
years ago.
Yeah, 35. We've been married. Some people say that that's the only reason why he married me.
Like the buffalo themselves, Custer State Park's roots are in the Old West. Named for General George Armstrong Custer, whose expedition discovered gold here in 1874, the park began as Custer State Forest in 1912. A year later, 38 buffalo arrived, purchased from the private herd of South Dakota rancher James Scotty Phillip. Known as the man who saved the buffalo, which were nearly slaughtered to extinction in the 1800s, Phillip's herd began with 5 bison calves rescued in the early 1880s and grew to nearly 1,000 animals.
And of course, there are buffalo.
Returned to their old homeland, the Custer Park herd thrived and grew. They were 300 strong when this roundup was conducted in the park back in 1938.
Here comes a section of the herd thundering down the runway now.
Today, some 1,500 buffalo, officially known as the American bison, roam this 73,000-acre state park. They are the rock stars of the abundant wildlife that live here.
Custer State Park is a good example of the American West and what it hosts for wildlife. It's what you think when you would come to the western states, where we have elk and pronghorn, bighorn sheep, and mountain goats, and then of course the iconic American bison is all hosted here in Custer State Park.
There are some non-native stars as well, the lovable burros, descended from a string of the animals that once packed guests in their gear in the park back in the day.
They're part of the park now.
You guys excited?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be awesome.
Super great.
You can see some of that wildlife horseback with a ride from Bluebell Stables, a highlight of many a vacation.
This makes their vacation.
My name is Michaela. I'll be your guide. If you guys have any questions at all, just let me know.
After some brief basic training, the riders head out for rides that run from an hour to much of the day.
But when they come back, they're just like, I can't thank you enough. They got to experience something that they don't ever get to experience from where they stand.
Coming up here since about 2006.
You can bring your own horse too. Stay in the campground set aside for equestrians.
The fall colors are usually pretty good, so makes for an enjoyable trip.
And if you want to let someone else do the cooking, enjoy the fine cuisine, hot coffee, or a cold one at Bluebell Lodge.
Custer State Park offers all kinds of accommodations, from primitive camping to a 5-star luxury lodge, and everything in between, like our beautiful cabin here at Bluebell Lodge.
Custer State Park and its grass can only support so many bison.
Wild herd that's managed.
And with hundreds of calves born every year, annual roundups began in 1965.
Roughly, we have around 1,500 animals that will be in the park in the summertime, and we'll cull off or sell to get under 1,000 animals to reach our carrying capacity for winter purposes.
Once open to anyone with a horse who wanted to help out, the roundup had very few spectators in those early days.
Oh yeah, we had like 15 riders and maybe 100 people watching. That's changed just a little.
And then in the early 90s, it turned into more of an economic development event and a tourism event.
So we've been quite obsessed with the cowboy West world for a long time now in our newspapers.
And the roundup is a perfect lure for visitors and media from all over the world.
I never thought I was going to be so up close and personal with the buffalo, and it's mesmerizing, yes.
A contingent of press is on hand for the big event.
It's exciting.
The day before the big drive, the reporters get a drive out to the herd to get a close-up look.
I had really no idea about South Dakota, and they basically convinced me that we should come over here and discover it for ourselves.
So what do you think so far?
It's great.
But as a popular t-shirt warns, don't pet the fluffy cows.
A few years ago, the infamous DePantsing, the lady who was up on Iron Mountain Road during the motorcycle rally, got between a cow and a calf. And the cow basically horned her between her pants and her belt and was flipping her around like this, and all of a sudden her pants came off and threw her to the side. And she didn't end up with any major injuries, but the cow left with her pants. That's why you have all the t-shirts now, don't pet the fluffy cows.
You too can get a personal visit with the buffalo on the Buffalo Safari Tour, a Jeep ride that'll take you as near as you'll ever want to be to these giant animals.
They're about as big as they get.
Huge beasts that may appear to be slow and docile, but can outrun a horse and jump an 8-foot fence.
They'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. They're very athletic and can do some wild things.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to help.
Which is why a great deal of care, caution, and preparation is taken with the men and women who will have a very exciting but potentially dangerous front row seat in the saddle during the roundup.
Another sign to watch for, particularly with cows, is you'll hear them puff or blow. They'll go, and if you hear that, be looking for her because she's watching somebody, and that's their warning.
The day before, riders are briefed in detail on the plan of action to drive the herd the last few miles into the big catch corrals.
And this is Red Valley Road. This is the wildlife loop. Corrals here in the East Trap.
You can feel the excitement and anticipation.
If that would happen,
it's also very serious business.
If you don't have a breast collar on your horse, I'd make one, because you're going up and down hills, especially up, your saddle's going to slip back. We've had it happen.
And a special guest drops in on the briefing.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to thank you.
South Dakota's Cowgirl Governor, Kristi Noem.
Thank you all for coming and being a part of this. This is a really special day, and there's people who get the chance to come to the roundup once in their lifetime, and they talk about it forever.
The governor came bearing gifts for the riders, including a very nice pair of elkskin gloves.
Okay, one more, we'll let you go.
Yes. Shake of hands.
And after the briefing, she always has time for a picture, even with me.
Have you ridden in the roundup before?
No, I have not.
How you feeling?
Excited, nervous.
The briefing over, riders head out for a shakedown ride.
We'll just go our route, the way we're going to go tomorrow.
A slow walk through the herd to get a lay of the land, give the horses a sense of what they're in for, and make sure there are no surprises. We'll reconvene in the morning.
Okay, let's gather around here.
It's roundup morning.
So this morning our objective is to move the herd into...
Riders gather one last time to go over the game plan.
And I ask you to pray in your way.
And offer up a prayer for all to go well. Nearby, the vehicle drivers have a huddle of their own.
Just hoping the buffalo cooperate and everybody stays safe. So.
I told you. There we go, we're heading out.
About a dozen trucks will follow 60-plus riders, carrying media crews and special guests. But every driver has a very important mission that supersedes everything else.
The first priority is to protect our riders from the bison when they get angry or just irritated. We'll try and put this truck between that bison and that rider so that if anything, it hits this truck and not the horse.
You can judge a buffalo's mood by its tail. When that thing goes up, it means either charge or discharge. Doesn't happen often, but horses have been gored and riders hurt. We don't want anything to spoil the party.
So the big buffalo roundup's about to begin. Our chase truck is getting into position. We'll be riding behind the riders, taking pictures and helping out just in case.
Would you take that so I don't lose it out here?
How soon before you get going, Chad?
Hey, pretty quick here. I'm gonna get these guys to start spreading out, so.
And here comes the governor.
I'm really jealous that you're on a horse and I'm not. Next year.
Next year.
Whose horse is a bit frisky this morning.
So we'll see. You might want to keep the film rolling.
Yeah. Oh, she is being.
Here we go.
And suddenly, we're underway.
All right, guys.
Man, it's exciting.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Molly. How's it going?
Going fantastic.
We come over a ridge top and regroup for a moment.
Go ahead, pull forward a little bit over there, guys. Fill that gap.
Then we're off again. Riders hollering, whips cracking. It's Western. Off in the distance, a horse is running loose with an empty saddle. Hope that rider's okay. But on we go. And then, atop a hillside, we watch as off they go. Riders in buffalo head for the home stretch and into the big catch corrals. It's all over, but the memory will last forever.
It was awesome. We got to chase the group that went out. They wanted to bust off to the side, so we had some full-born chasing. Full-born.
Sounds like the horse liked it too.
They loved it.
I'm the only rider that fell off.
Oh, but you're sitting back up.
Yeah, my saddle came sideways, and so I unhooked my syringe or my feet and got off. And somebody caught my horse for me.
Oh, hell. How do you beat it? It's just good excitement, good fun.
The park puts on a big lunch after the roundup where everybody will be talking about the incredible show you can only see in South Dakota. And there's no view of the roundup quite like the one from the back of a horse. Just ahead, another great ride through the Black Hills on the 1880 train. But first, the mountaintop memorial to a legendary Lakota.
Let me introduce you to this incredible work of art.
The Crazy Horse Memorial, a massive monument to the famed Oglala Lakota warrior, carved into a mountaintop in the Black Hills of South Dakota, that will look like this when it's finished, at 20 times the size of nearby Mount Rushmore, the face alone standing more than 87 feet tall. In a battle reenacted every summer where it happened in June 1876, Crazy Horse led the Sioux and Cheyenne against General George Custer's 7th Cavalry to their greatest victory, the Battle of the Little Bighorn, better known as Custer's Last Stand. But by the following May, the warrior and his followers had been forced to surrender, and confined to a reservation, Crazy Horse was killed in September 1877, and the Lakota way of life was gone forever.
The government wanted to terminate the tribes, our culture, our language, our traditions. So Chief Henry Standing Bear didn't know if our cultures would live into the future.
Standing Bear, a cousin of Crazy Horse, who'd been educated in the white man's ways at the Carlisle Indian School, watched as Mount Rushmore took shape in the 1920s and 30s on what was once Indian land. Standing Bear declared the native people had heroes of their own and dreamed of a mountain monument to forever remember the legendary warrior.
And Chief Henry Standing Bear and the organization believed that this story needed to be told.
Standing Bear recruited Korchak Tchaikovsky, an accomplished sculptor who worked on Rushmore, completed in 1941. And the artist, with the support of his wife Ruth and eventually their 10 children, dedicated the rest of his life to the monument, which has been under construction ever since. Never a penny of government money.
Work began on the project in 1948 and is expected to be done by Thursday. Just which Thursday, nobody knows. But all kidding aside, new technology is dramatically speeding up the process.
Everything that we are in right now would have been under rock. We would have been about at least 15 foot under rock. So this was all removed in the past couple of years.
We get a tour of the mountaintop from Melvin Dolan. The jackhammers and dynamite Korchak used to whittle down the mountain have been replaced with computerized maps and sophisticated tools that slice through granite.
The GIS mapping, so we have a map of the mountain. We did three-dimensional scans of the smaller scales of the model, so now we know where Crazy Horse is, in essence, inside the mountain. They apply that into the track saw, and the track saw cuts within a 1/4 inch to finish grade. And so now we're moving at a much faster rate. Let's go look at the finger.
Visitors are dwarfed by the arm and hand now taking shape.
Outstretched arms 263. From the top of the head to the bottom is going to be 541 feet.
600,000 people a year come to see this massive monument.
We have about 1,000 acres here.
But the sculpture is just one part of the memorial complex.
The most important part of our organization is our mission. Our mission is to protect and preserve the cultures, traditions, and living heritage of the North American Indians.
Which includes, among other things, the Indian Museum of North America.
We have over 14,000 artifacts representing all the tribes across North America.
And the Indian University of North America.
And they get mentoring, coaching. We've had over 447 students that have come through our university program, and up to 80% of them have been successful in completing their college degrees.
I am the 5th blood descendant of Chief Red Cloud.
Educating the public is an important mission as well.
When they shared words of wisdom within every story, there was a virtue, a value to be learned on how to exist in harmony in this creation. I try to educate the visitors that come so that they could become more aware of the indigenous people of the Black Hills as well as the whole country.
Walking through the exhibits, you learn no photograph was ever taken of Crazy Horse, whose image is based on memories of those who knew him.
I believe in what he wanted to do.
But some have questioned whether Crazy Horse would approve of his mountaintop memorial.
Chief Henry Standing Bear didn't know if our cultures would live into the future. And so when he made a decision that he wanted this mountain carving to take place in honor of his cousin Crazy Horse, it was during a time of desperation.
And it's all being done with no government money.
Seeing how the government didn't live up to the agreements, the treaties that they established with the tribes, Chief Henry Standing Bear and Korchak believed that this needed to operate solely on private donors and admissions.
Korchak and his wife are gone, but their children and grandchildren carry on the carving and the memorial's unique mission, celebrating the past.
It's a beautiful place to visit,
while helping today's young Native Americans succeed in the future.
Yeah, I could see where it could really capture the imagination of a lot of people.
When people come here to Crazy Horse Memorial, they seem to be inspired.
You know, we're 3 projects in one, in essence. You know, we're a museum, we're a carving, we're a university.
Yeah.
And then we have so many other aspects involved with it. A lot of our donors are very passionate about the fact that we don't accept federal funding.
And you're invited to tour the ever-changing mountaintop of Crazy Horse Memorial.
I believe it's an inspiration to the rest of the world on what's possible when we come together for a common cause.
Next time you're in South Dakota. Just ahead, we'll take you back in time and backstage on the 1880 train. All aboard the 1880 train for a scenic ride down the same tracks where steam engines have been rolling through South Dakota's picturesque Black Hills since the 1880s.
It's just beautiful. South Dakota countryside. So this was what you're seeing, the straight line in front of you was the main line that ran from Nebraska up to Deadwood in the late 1880s to 1890.
Tracks were first laid down to service the dozens of mining operations that sprang up after General George Custer's expedition discovered gold here in 1874.
I've been told at one point in time there was over 65 mines
in the 10 miles of track that we ride on.
Looking out the window, you see the occasional weathered remnants of that mining heritage. But mostly, it's just beautiful country with a rich history.
The trains are authentic.
As is the train itself.
We've had several train rides like this. This is one of the better trains we've ridden.
Starting with the rare century-old saddle tank steam engine pulling these vintage passenger cars.
So they have a lot of weight over the driving wheels, which is very important for us to climb the big grade out of here. A normal tender locomotive with a fuel and water car pulled behind isn't as efficient at climbing these mountain lines.
Only 3 of these engines still exist, 2 of which operate here, uniquely suited for this rugged terrain.
They're also what they call compound and articulated. So there's a second set of pistons that pivots out from underneath the boiler, and that allows them to navigate the sharper curves that you're going to see on a mountain railroad like we are here.
Top speed is just 10 miles an hour.
You are approaching the top of 10 Mill Hill.
It's because of the terrain of the track. I've yet to find a very flat spot on this railroad. It is always an up or down, and we have really sharp curves.
Not to worry, a highly skilled 2-man crew is at the controls up in the engine, which takes a lot of manual levers, dials, and know-how to operate.
I'm taking 1 cubic inch of water and I'm heating it to 500 degrees. That 1 cubic inch of water will become 1,724 cubic inches of steam. That's what gives us our driving force.
But these guys are living the dream.
I've been in love with trains since I was probably 5 years old, so yeah, it's kind of a dream come true for me.
Steam engines have forever run on oil here in the Black Hills, where coal-fired locomotives were outlawed back in the day.
And the reason that they didn't like coal is it produced hot cinders that could go out the stack and land, and it could set a fire off.
Steam takes water, and this is one thirsty engine. It holds 1,200 gallons, but the 20-mile round trip from Hill City to Keystone takes 2,000. So the engine tanks up on both ends of the line. And Engineer Mark tops off the oil.
As we get to each stop, we gotta top off all our little oil cups on oil here. It helps keep it lubricated and moving smooth.
At the Keystone Depot, the steam engine always draws a big crowd. But few people see all the work it takes to keep this living history rolling down the track. Most of which goes on year-round at the Hill City Depot.
This is where we're gonna drop the wheels down into the pit. The locomotive goes out, we raise the wheels up and set them on the rails. So yeah, this is our tool wall. We've got all sorts of wrenches.
And there are all kinds of specialized tools and parts.
Most of our parts have to be fabricated and machined.
You won't find at Home Depot.
Suspension bars. Locomotives have leaf springs, kind of like your cars, and these bars here are kind of what help hold them in place.
Another workshop maintains the historic train cars.
And this car was actually used in the movie Orphan Train. Right now it's undergoing a cosmetic restoration.
New bench seats that are going in.
Yep.
Where again, most everything must be built by hand. Even firing up the engine is a major project. You don't just turn the key.
These engines, you have to light a fire and you have to let your boiler pressure build up. Now that can take 3 to 4 hours.
Once the train is fired up, it's rolled out for a daily ritual known as the boiler blowdown.
So opening up that valve sweeps a big mass of water off the bottom of the boiler and sweeps all that mud and sediment and other things, impurities out of the water. So you just blow it off the side first thing in the morning, and then you do it during the train ride itself as well.
Step on up.
More than 1,000 people a day step on board.
I love hearing the whistle. It's fun.
For a narrated scenic trip back in time.
I thought it was great.
Well, it's just a great job.
And those who work here are having just as much fun.
You get to look at all these beautiful pieces of equipment. I get to work on them.
get to meet all the people from all around the world. And
I get to talk to people and explain what's going on, tell them a little history and what they're seeing. It's fun.
And even those who've never been to South Dakota have had a chance to enjoy this historic train. The 1880 train, officially known as the Black Hills Central Railroad, has co-starred in a number of Hollywood productions. Its engine number 7 was seen in a couple of episodes of Gunsmoke, Steven Spielberg's Into the West, and the major motion picture Orphan Train. But there's nothing like the real thing. Climbing on board and experiencing the rhythm of the rails, rolling through South Dakota's Black Hills on the 1880 train. That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for Today's Wild West provided by the Leggett Foundation, the Atherton Foundation, and the Chuckwagon Trail Riders Foundation.